you. Thank you very much, and welcome to EWTN Live. I'm Father Mitch Pacwa. Got a big crowd here today. There's some people in politics, but it's huge. And they're in the studio tonight because the EWTN Catholic Radio Conference is in town. And one of the main speakers is Dr. Scott Hahn, with whom we will speak later tonight. But before we get to him, I want to welcome Mr. Jack Williams, EWTN Radio's General Manager, to tell us more about the conference. Jack, how you doing?
I'm fantastic, Father Mitch. How are you? I brought 100 of my closest friends with me tonight.
Oh, that's good of you.
Just to see it. I thought they were coming to see me. Apparently, this Hahn guy knows something about the faith. I don't know, but they came to really see him.
That'll do it.
No, but we had a wonderful day at the Shrine today. The first day of the conference is always a retreat at the Shrine of the Most Blessed Sacrament. Heard a couple of great talks from Father Wade Menezes. The Holy Sacrifice of the Mass was celebrated by Bishop Baker. Everybody had a chance to visit with the sisters. It was a wonderful day, and we'll kick off the conference portion in earnest tomorrow with a keynote address from Dr. Hahn. We'll have some workshops, some spiritual talks. There's a Jesuit that's even coming, from what I understand, that'll be giving a little spiritual talk. But it's Christmas time for us in the radio department. It's wonderful to have all these great folks here. These are people that are operating these apostolates around the country. Some of them are program partners and providers, and also people who are interested in possibly inquiring as to what it takes to bring Catholic radio to your area. Because believe it or not, there are some areas, in spite of our 350 plus affiliates, that don't have Catholic radio, an AM/FM station in their area.
Yeah.
And of course, if you don't have Catholic radio in your area, what should you do? Get one. That's right. You should get a Catholic radio station, so they can send me an email if they'd like to know more about that. Did I startle you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, what startled me is it seems like a cult you got here going. You got them all trained.
There you go. But if they just send me an email at jwilliams@ewtn.com, we'll steer them down the right path.
All right. Well, that's a good change for you, too. Getting people down the right path. Good. All right. Well, we're going to welcome Scott Hahn on, so appreciate that. And really
so
good
get
to have
out is what you're
here.
saying. I understand. Okay.
Here's your hat and coat. Sorry to hear you have to go.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes with Dr. Hahn, so please stay with us. Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, our guest tonight should be very familiar to our audience. He is the founder and president of the St. Paul Center for Biblical Theology, as well as a best-selling author and well-known speaker. He's been on the network for many, many years. And his newest book deals with the important topic of marriage and society. It's called The First Society: The Sacrament of Matrimony and the Restoration of the Social Order. Please welcome Dr. Scott Hahn. How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah. Good to be seen by you.
Yeah, it's good to have you down here in Sweet Home, Alabama. Wonderful book. I enjoyed it a lot. And I want to dive right into the topic because your premise is that matrimony is the antidote to what ails much of society.
Yeah, that's right.
This is, our society is in a world of hurt. There's, suicide on a high level. and high levels of drug use and overdoses. 160 people a day are dying of that. 52% of all children are born outside of marriage. And that leads to lots of other problems. School dropout and poverty is almost guaranteed. And there are lots of other problems that go on. And you're saying that matrimony and living Catholic marriage is the solution. How do you come to that conclusion?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think we recognize that the Catholic faith has a capacity to form civilizations like no other religion in history. Yep. But that's not what the Catholic faith is for. As wonderful as that fringe benefit is, the faith exists for the purpose of forming saints and turning sinners into saints. And there is no saint without a past, so there is no sinner without a future. But most of us find ourselves in marriage. And I would say that this lesson is not just happenstance. I opened the book by telling a story about how it was for me as a first-year doctoral student in the PhD program at Marquette, taking a seminar from the late, great Father Donald Keefe, a Jesuit who just passed away earlier this year. And I went to study under him because he was working on a magnum opus entitled Covenantal Theology, which was my bailiwick even as a Protestant. I knew I was on my way into the church, but I wasn't quite ready. So here we are, taking this seminar, reading Richard John Newhouse's brand new book, The Naked Public Square, discussing what role, if any, does religion have in American politics, and what reference to faith should politicians make. And this is...
And what year are you talking
85.
About? 85.
So the mid-80s, Ronald Reagan is president, John Paul is still youthful and vigorous. The focus on the family has just been started. There's a new alliance of evangelical Protestants and Catholics for the pro-life cause. These were exciting and heady times, but it was still a difficult issue. And so we were discussing, what role do politicians have? What role does religion have in politics? And in the middle of a brilliant lecture, he just suddenly stopped. He started staring out the window, or like a flying saucer, what is it, And he just interrupted himself and said, if Catholics simply lived the grace of the sacrament of matrimony for one generation, the result would be a transformed culture. It would be a Christian society. But I digress. So he went back to his lecture notes, and I think everybody else did except for me, because I mean, that comment landed in my mind. It went straight to my heart. I'm thinking, that's hyperbole, that's exaggeration. Come on, you can't be serious. But the more I thought about it for the rest of that seminar, the more I realized he nailed it. I mean, it's like a laser beam landing on the back of my retina. I mean, he really pinpointed something so basic and so powerful. And I think this is the ordinary path that we understand, that marriage is a natural institution that goes back to creation. It is a kind of contract in the natural law. God transforms.
It's in all societies.
That's right. Yeah.
All societies have it.
In ancient Israel, it was also transformed into a covenant, so that it was always something sacred, so that it was God who joined man and woman together from the very beginning. And then in the new covenant, which fulfills the old, it's elevated to the level of the sacrament, one of the seven. And I think what I came to see, even before I entered the church, was that the sacramentality of marriage is what provides us with the means that we need, the grace we need to give us what we need to make up for what we lack. I mean, it's not as though the sacrament of matrimony makes it easy. It's what makes holy matrimony possible. And I think it's also why the Catechism in, paragraph 1631, it describes this not only as a contract and a covenant, as a sacrament, but also as a liturgical act, as an ecclesial order, as a state in life, language that we typically associate with the Society of Jesus, or the Augustinians, the Franciscans, the Dominicans, diocesan clergy. I mean, that's a state of life, a status vitae. But I mean, what we recognize then is that married couples have an essential part in the church, and our calling is to sanctify the temporal order. And so in the book, I basically work through what are the social implications of marriage being a binding contract, being a sacred covenant, being a sacrament of the new law. And I draw a lot on personal experience because I've now been married 40 years. And I feel like I'm entering the promised land. We have a friendship that is better than I ever thought you could. You know?
And there's a few kids that came along the way.
Yeah, 6 kids and now 15 grandkids, and 16 and 17 are on the way, and we've got 2 sons in the seminary studying for the priesthood right now. Pray for Jeremiah and Joseph. But I mean, at no point has parenting ever been easy. At every point, marriage has been a struggle. I know for a fact that no person on planet Earth has hurt or frustrated Kimberly more than me. I'd also like to take her at her word when she says nobody has brought her more joy. You know, she has hurt me much less than I've hurt her. But I mean, at the same time, I can tell you that we have struggled at every point. And you never stop parenting. And so whether it's a spouse or as a parent, it's always a struggle. You're always feeling like I'm inadequate. I'm in over my head. God, help me. And I feel like God is saying, that's exactly right. You are in over your head.
You know, oftentimes, I started seminary long before you got married. I started seminary in 1963, and I'm a lifer. And seen a lot of changes. And people would say, well, think about how much you're giving up when you become a priest. I said, no, I give up a certain amount. I mean, I'd love to have had a family. I'd love to have a wife and children. It'd be wonderful. But, that is one kind of cross. But in marriage, you're living other crosses too. It's not a life that you get the easy road and I have the hard. No, they're both have their own difficulties, their own struggle, and they're most importantly in Christian marriage and priesthood, they each have their own crosses.
Right.
It's not fulfillment every moment of the day.
No, that's right. I'm reminded of what Kimberly likes to tell, the story of a priest who was asking all of these kids in 2nd grade who were just learning their catechism, what did Jesus say about marriage? And the little kid raised it, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's the truth, and the fact is you go in naive. And God harnesses that sexual desire in a holy way to bring about new life, because marital love is completely different than every other form of human love. Love between friends, love between brothers and sisters. This is the only place where human love reveals the life-giving power of God's love, where the two become one, and the one we became was so real that 9 months later, we had to come up with a name. Michael, our firstborn, then 5 more names. And these kids become the incarnation of our love, the embodiment of a oneness, so that we become 2 in 1, and then we become 3 in 1, kind of like the triunity. Well, that is this divine communion.
That's part of what you also try to bring out, is the link between the life of the Blessed Trinity and how marriage is that image and likeness of God.
That's right.
In the Trinitarian relationship of equal dignity and oneness.
Right. I mean, in Genesis 1, God creates everything. Let there be light, let there be this, let there be that. But only in verse 26 do we hear that change in divine discourse. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. And he makes man male and female. Well, didn't he make all the animals male? Well, for them, it's just plumbing. It's just physique. It's just bodily features. Right. But for us, it's more than biological. It's more than sociological. So when we move into Genesis 2, we discover that the marital covenant is the primordial form of what it meant to bear the image and likeness of God, where the two become one flesh, Genesis 2:24. And so there is something there that is very basic, very fundamental, very natural, and yet at the same time very supernatural. And so I'm always working with what theologians call analogy, not just like a metaphor or a simile, but an analogy in the sense that God is a father, I'm a father. We all think we know what fatherhood means. You've got to have a body, an organ, you have to have gender, you have to perform an act with your wife, but God doesn't have a body or a gender, he doesn't have an organ to perform, so he must not be a father. No, then fatherhood must be different than what we think it is. We have to purify the notion that it's more spiritual than physical, it's more moral than just genital. It is not less true in God, it's far more true. So suddenly we find that God from all eternity is a father more than he's a creator. Because no matter how old creation is, it's not eternal, but God is. But what is God eternally? Well, we didn't know until he sent the Son. And I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to, he doesn't say God but by me, because you come to God from creation. You come to the Lord through the law of the covenant, but no one comes to the Father but by me. because nobody knew that God was a father until he sent the Son to give us the spirit of sonship. So suddenly we realize family is not just physical but spiritual, not just biological, but it's something that God creates to kind of orient us to the only ultimate purpose for which we were made, to enter into a family that will make the Hahn household on its best days look sad and miserable.
And this is something where, I think one of the images that you employ, I think you got from someone else, but you use it well, and it's just really hit me. That image of radiation
Oh, yeah.
that is coming into our culture. There's a radiation poisoning where bad evil ideas are permeating the culture and breaking down the fiber of our culture.
Right.
What do you mean by that
Yeah,
image?
this is chapter 2, The First Society. It's pages 17 through 20. And to me, the discovery of DNA gets us to the most basic unit of life, the blueprint of every organism, of every molecule. And so, I was always accustomed to hearing that the cultural change that we have seen that is so bad is sort of like the frog in the kettle. It's boiling, but he doesn't notice it, and that's okay. But what I found more useful was to find out what radiation poisoning does to a person's body, to DNA, because it messes with the most basic blueprints, which are blurred, So you don't even know that radiation, you come into contact with it, and so the effect that it has on you is in a certain sense not even sensible, but it completely breaks down the body and the organs, and the entire organism just wastes away in a way that's seemingly imperceptible.
Yeah,
It's gradual.
You can't see radiation, but it's only when you get sick from it that you begin to realize
right.
that you've been in contact with it.
And I think that the darkness of the sexual revolution that has turned our world upside down in the last 60, 70, 80 years, that has made traditional morality into hate speech, we don't recognize that in order to overcome darkness, you've got to find the switch and turn on the light. And I'm convinced that the sacrament of matrimony, properly understood, lived humbly but faithfully, with great effort and humiliations, that is what will turn the world right side up. And I'm convinced that it's something that eludes academics, because that's what the family does. I mean, God has made the truth of the faith in all of the mysteries available to a peasant as much or more than to an academic scholar who prefers abstractions. Because the concrete reality of marriage and family reminds us that, contrary to all of the theories of all of the scholars, none of us were born as individuals. That's an abstraction. All of us were born as a son or a daughter. Now, we might not come from a happy marriage. It might be broken. It might even, in a drive-in theater. But there are male and female, and they unite. And our source of life is marriage. Our identity as individuals is not just male and female. It is a son or a daughter. We become brothers, we become sisters, then husbands and wives, and fathers and mothers. The concrete reality of family, it's like hiding in plain view so that only scholars can really miss it. But I mean, the poor,
And don't underestimate, by the way, you in the audience, the power of scholars to miss the obvious.
Yeah, I'm thankful for you bearing witness to this, because you got your PhD from Vanderbilt. You know what I'm talking about.
Not that we want to blame Vanderbilt, only, but
Professor Harrelson was a great mentor, I think.
he was a wonderful
sure.
professor.
Like
But
Keith.
there is something where you can come up, academics can come up with theories that block reality out. They any theory of life filters certain information in and filters other information out.
That's right. We're not down on academic study.
No, it's good. But it has to be kept in balance with the rest of reality.
That's right. I have to see my own academic formation in apostolic terms. I'm reminded of St. Augustine, who was a great rhetorician, a great scholar, a Manichaean before his conversion. And one of his earliest works was entitled, appropriately, Contra Academicos, against the academics. Now, people will point out, if they're experts on Augustine, well, that's not what we mean. It's really against the skeptics.
Right.
Because back then, academics were skeptical. oh my, how things have changed.
Actually, in my Bible, it say, "Ein kol chadesh tachet hashamesh." There's
Gesundheit.
nothing new under the sun.
Oh, yeah.
So,
that's nice.
So, but it's, and I think, so folks understand too, one of the core notions that from academics at University of Indiana, who helped push the theoretical aspect of the sexual revolution, is that human sexuality is no different from animal sexuality. That was a key, a cornerstone concept. And when that got put into study on male sexuality and female sexuality, to say that human sexuality is absolutely no different from the animals, therefore there are no moral questions at stake. It's whatever you are interested in, what feels good to you, and so on. And this became the Alfred Kinsey Report.
That's right.
He compared human sexuality to that of the moths he had studied for his dissertation when he was at Harvard. And it's not the same.
This reminds me of what Paul says in Romans 1, verse 18 and following, where the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and wickedness of men, by which men suppress the truth. God is not wrathful towards sin because we're having too much fun, but because we're suppressing the higher truths about who we are and how different we are than the animals. And so you can see, claiming to be wise, they become fools and worship reptiles and animals. Mm-hmm. Paul's point is, I think, very important for us to recognize that our problem is not rooted in an intellect that is incapable of finding the higher truths, but in a will that has this downward pull to lower goods. Original sin, even when it's
becomes self-destructive.
Exactly.
That's
Claiming to be
the other
wise,
side
they
of it.
become fools, but they don't say, well, we've become fools. They claim to be even wiser.
Yeah.
And that intellectual pride, which we can trace back to Lucifer, who was not, he didn't have a body, he didn't have sexual urges or lust, but ultimately this intellectual pride is what afflicts us.
Yeah.
And it afflicts me like it does everybody else. Sure. But the intellect has to draw the will up to the higher truths, or else the will is going to draw the intellect down to the lower goods. And this is what Paul's describing, that ultimately atheism is not a lack of evidence. Atheism is a rationalization for basically indulging in the kind of behavior that we crave, and that we have to literally rationalize it. Yeah. And so we use rationality to basically eradicate God, the natural moral law, and to reduce sexuality to what animals do. But as you say, the Kinsey Report is stating this, in an academic tone, and yet it is so extraordinarily stupid. It's so obvious, if that were true, and it's not, then rape wouldn't be a crime or even a sin. We know in our hearts that this is a horrible evil because we know in our hearts that sexuality is more than copulation.
What you just said is extremely relevant because in the mid-'70s, the Kinsey Report was used to reduce the criminal level of rape.
Yeah.
That different, something like 30 different state legislators used it to say, no, it's not, we're not going to punish it as severely as we used to.
But this is where I think women need to wake up and teach men what we already know but tend to suppress, and that is that rape is inherently evil in a way that a wet willy never is.
Yeah.
That to do that kind of thing in that part of the body is to desecrate. It's not just violence, it's to profane a holy temple that God has given to a woman so that the life-giving power of love can be unveiled. Yeah. And this is why God hates sin, because he loves us and he knows how sin dehumanizes us.
And the antidote to treating this in an animal way is marriage as a covenant relationship that establishes relationship, that has God's grace as its source. This is not about getting, as some people say, a piece of paper from City Hall.
Right.
It's not about City Hall. It's about God's grace being upon us.
That's
so
right.
that your marriage is something that comes from Christ and leads you to Christ.
Right.
Christ, who is the bridegroom of the church. and that his love of the church is what you symbolize in your marriage with Kimberly. And this is a great gift in every marriage. I had a couple yesterday, 58 years, they're married to each other. I told them that's a good start.
You know, this combination, this coordination of the Eucharist as the marriage supper of the Lamb, as you know from Revelation 19:9, and marriage itself being an image of Christ's love for the church, his bride. I mean, I could have said on our wedding night, but I didn't, what I heard a Catholic priest pronounce the first time I went to Mass. This is my body which is given up for you. This means that Christ's gift to his church is much more than a metaphor or a figure of speech. There is a depth of reality to the covenant that Christ has established in the Eucharist, whereby we become a bride even more than Kimberly, and he manifests a groom more than I ever could. And so it's through the Eucharist that we receive the grace that we need to go back home and to apologize sincerely, to forgive promptly, to get started over again, and to recognize we're not opponents. We're on the same page, we're on the same team.
Well, one of the things that I oftentimes say along that last point, because all the sacraments are meant to help each other.
Right.
So, sometimes people say, well, I'm married, I don't have to worry about, going to confession so much. No, you don't have to worry about confessing perhaps some sins that you had been doing.
That's right.
But there are other sins, and as I tell husbands, I want you to go to confession more often. Because all I ever hear is your wife's version of what you do wrong.
Speaking of which,
Yes.
my confessor nailed me years ago because I would try to do a holy hour before the Blessed Sacrament, and I couldn't get it in during the workday. And so conveniently, in the evening, when she's getting the kids ready, I'm going to go do a holy hour before the Blessed Sacrament. And I didn't realize how much that frustrated and infuriated her because she needed my help.
Right.
And so I mentioned it to my confessor, and he says, hey, I want you to spend time before another Blessed Sacrament. Because marriage is not a sacrament in some generic way. She is the sacrament. You spend time with her, helping the kids get down to bed, and then if you have extra time, get down to your holy hour before the Blessed Sacrament.
Absolutely.
But she is a blessed sacrament. Like, all right. I needed that.
Yeah.
She did too.
Yeah, of course she did. And the kids needed you to be there.
Absolutely right.
That's
where our storytelling began.
Exactly.
That's where reading Narnia and all of the rest began too. I stopped bugging out.
Yep, that's an extremely important thing, and I think too, with matrimony, just as another side from my own sacrament of the priesthood, it is extremely important for us priests to see ourselves as, first of all, acting in the person of Jesus Christ.
The bridegroom.
That's what St. Paul
That's right.
teaches us in 2 Corinthians chapter 2, that we act en to prosopo Christou, in the person of Christ. But that also means I have to be a bridegroom to the church.
That's right.
And that, that this nuptial aspect that you live in your sacrament also must be lived out by us who are priests ordained for the church. And developing that farther may be one part of the spiritual antidote to the evils that have been going on with spiritual sexual misconduct
Absolutely.
by clergy. That's a horrendous, desecration of the priesthood. And just like today, with it's about 55% of married couples, have extramarital affairs. That's a desecration of a sacred sacrament.
That's right.
That's how this has to be seen, and that all either part, and that having this directed towards the holiness of the relationships proper to husbands and wives and families. And priests with the church, this is a good part of that antidote you're talking about.
That mystery is a profound one. It refers to Christ and the church, Paul says in Ephesians 5. I want to say one thing, and that is I don't want to say anything to devalue the holy hour, the time before the Blessed Sacrament.
Right. No.
I put it now earlier in the morning, and then sometimes late at night if I can't. But again, one hand washes the other.
That's right.
The Eucharistic mystery and the marriage mystery, to me, are mutually reinforcing and interdependent. Yeah. I would also say this, it might seem a little esoteric or academic, but Archbishop Charles Brown, who was in Ireland as the nuncio for 5 years, he's now in Albania, But he did a dissertation way back when he was working with Ratzinger in the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith on the ring of the bishop as the sign of the nuptial bond
Exactly.
between him and the diocese.
Yeah,
This
he
is not figurative, this is not metaphorical.
Exactly.
There was something literal, physical, tangible
That's right.
that showed the bishop and everybody in that diocese this is a marriage bond.
And because the rest of us priests are the assistants to the bishop, we don't have the ring.
That's right.
He has it, but we're still in that nuptial relationship. In something, I introduced this topic of priest because I want to reemphasize your point about marriage for renewing society and the priesthood. But you've also done a little bit of a clip. You're going to be doing a video for a conference for priests coming up in a few months. Well, why don't you pitch to that video?
Yeah, I mean, at the St. Paul Center, we do lots of things. Biblical literacy for lay people, biblical fluency for clergy, for beginners, intermediate, advanced. I've been teaching seminarians going back 25 years in Rome, at St. Vincent's, the Josephinum, most recently in Mundelein. But the thing that we enjoy more than everything else, and that is making Scripture come alive for priests. And so we've had priest conferences going on near Steubenville for the last 10 years or so from the St. Paul Center. But for the first time, we're going to be in Southern California in January. And we're going to have a couple hundred priests. And what we want to do, Dr. John Bergsma and Dr. Tim Gray and I want to basically make this 4-day time a thank offering, to express our gratitude for their spiritual fatherhood, for their sacrifices, and at the same time to make Scripture come alive as it has for us. And so I wanted this clip to kind of let people know what they might consider giving their priests for a Christmas gift. That is a scholarship to this priest conference.
All right, let's take a look at that video.
Hi, I'm Dr. Scott Hahn, and I want to personally invite each and every priest to spend time with me at the St. Paul Center's Priest Conference. It's an exciting and refreshing 4 days of spiritual and intellectual renewal and physical refreshment. Our conferences offer daily mass, daily confession, holy hours, and private prayer, as well as some of the most exciting and stimulating talks by today's leading lay Bible teachers. Every year, priests come away from this event feeling renewed in their ministry, and I want the same for you. You shepherds give so much to your sheep. Now let us sheep give back to you with the best gifts we have to offer. If you're a priest, this is for you. If you know a priest, this would be a great gift for them. To get your ticket to register or to give this to a priest as a gift, go to stpaulcenter.com and under the Events tab, click Priest Conference. I'm looking forward to seeing our priests there. Thank you and God bless you.
Well, we're going to go have a little break. We'll come back in a couple of minutes and get questions from our studio audience as well as from you calling in. So please stay with us. All right, so we have a couple things. Just want to remind you that Scott's The Fourth Cup, Unveiling the Mystery of the Last Supper and the Cross, is also available at EWTNRC.com, as well as the First Society. It's another great thing available for you. That's item number 92548. Again, go to EWTNRC.com. You can get these books, great Christmas present, and wedding presents. Wedding presents. That's a good thing. Matter of fact, that might be too late. Give it to them when they get engaged. That's a better time. All right, you ready for some questions?
Sure.
Let's start off with the studio questions. Sir, where are you from, first of all?
I'm from Hayes, Kansas.
All right. Oh, I've been out that way.
Yes, you have.
Yes, I have. Great group out there. And your question?
My question is, with theoretical anthropology, it starts out, man has always been a problem with himself. When did it become the other guy's fault? When was it my wife's fault that causes so much separation in marriages, in the church, in any relationship?
Yeah, I mean, the easy answer to that is it's been true since the beginning. You go back to Genesis chapter 3, and as soon as our first parents disobey and eat the forbidden fruit, they run, they hide, they put fig leaves. Well, the text doesn't tell us where, but we know. And then when God comes into the garden and starts to ask questions of Adam, where are you? What have you done? What is his response? It is, the woman you gave me to be with me.
So you blame God too.
Yeah, that's right. The woman you gave
to me.
That's right. Somehow
your
she's
fault.
turned to be. Yeah. And then as you flip the page in Genesis 4, Cain kills his brother Abel. Again, dysfunctional families have been since the beginning. And when God banishes him, oh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. In other words, there's been an injustice committed here this day. Not me killing my brother, but you banishing me. And so this victim psychology, instead of saying through my fault, my most grievous fault, it's her fault, her most grievous fault, or his, And I think the key is to say what we mean what we say, my most grievous fault. If we got better at accusing ourselves and excusing our loved ones who have to put up with us, I've been going to confession now since I became a Catholic over 30 years ago every week. And nobody in my family has ever suggested that I go too often. It's the kind of medicine that I need, that they need. And then also we have this sort of thing where when they were teenagers, they didn't have to explain a thing. They just said, I'd give them the number of a priest and I would drive them before they had their license. No questions asked. Absolutely. The medicine of God's mercy is available for all of us, and we need it all.
And something that I talked about on the show with Dr. Baxter from Wyoming Catholic College a few weeks ago. Wonderful school, and he teaches Dante, and he says what characterizes Dante's Inferno in the Divine Comedy is that everybody in hell keeps blaming other people.
Yeah.
The difference between hell and purgatory is that in purgatory they accept responsibility for what they did wrong, and in hell, the whole time, for all eternity, they keep blaming other people. You'd almost think it was a political convention on steroids.
Building on that, I'm reminded of what my late beloved pastor, Monsignor Jans, used to say from the pulpit, but also in confession, that when Satan attacks, he's got two principal roles, two titles. One is tempter, and the other is accuser. When he tempts us, he does so by taking away our sense of shame so that we commit the sin. And then he so graciously returns as the accuser when he restores our sense of shame 100-fold, so we feel so ashamed, so unforgivable, we can't even ask God for mercy.
Right.
And it seems to me that this becomes the blueprint for the whole social order. 'Tis the season for allegations and accusations in the church and in the state and everywhere you turn. And even when they're true, they're usually still destructive. And it's no justification for covering up, but it is a kind of justification for crying out for God's mercy, for myself and for every member of my family and our society too.
Yeah. We have a phone call. Hello, Stacy?
Yes.
Hi,
Hello.
where are you calling from?
I am calling from New York City.
Great. And your question?
And yes, my question has to do with the wedding of Cana. I'm having a debate with a friend of mine
Yeah.
who says the event never took place in history. I, being a devout Catholic, of course, disagreed completely with him. The question would be to Dr. Hahn or you, Father, did the event actually take place, and who was the wedding for? Some people said it was a friend of Mary's.
Well, I mean, I would say first and foremost, yes, it's true.
Yeah.
Yes, it's actually a historical event. I would also say that if you try to go back and prove it through documentary evidence, rot's a ruck.
Yeah.
Because most events in the past cannot be demonstrated through documentation or any other form of evidence. But I think we can see what John is doing in providing a witness, testimony that is reliable. And I think he's also doing something that is not only historically true, but literarily elegant and spiritually profound. Because he starts John 1 and then gets to the wedding at Cana in John 2, and he begins a lot like Genesis 1 and 2. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And he goes on to identify how all things were made through him, light, darkness, and life. And then, of course, the Word becomes flesh. But you notice that in John 1, there's a sequence of days just like in Genesis 1. The next day, verse 29, the next day, verse 35, the next day, verse 43, and then the wedding at Cana is narrated on the third day there was a wedding at Cana. Well, the third day from what? Well, the last day that was mentioned was the fourth day, because if you use the phrase the next day 3 times, it brings you to the fourth day. 4 plus 3 is 7, so there's a sabbatical rhythm to the narrative. So as man is made on the 6th day, and as Adam awakens from the deep sleep and beholds his bride Eve, there really is a sense in which he anticipates this. He says, woman, just like Jesus speaks to Mary. We don't know who the bride and the groom were. Nobody else is identified by name except for Jesus and Mary, but he doesn't call her Mary. He doesn't call her mom. He calls her woman, gunai, the same term in the Septuagint back there in Genesis 2. And so I think what we're seeing is not only historically true, but a theologically profound picture of how the incarnational debut of the Word made flesh, the beginning of his public ministry, is not some salvaging operation. We're going to see what scraps we can save from the old creation that's fallen. It is nothing less than the fulfillment of the purpose of God in the beginning. When our first parents, the old Adam and Eve, failed, we have in our tradition this understanding of a new covenant, a new creation, and not only a new Adam, but guess what else? A new Eve. And so there's a kind of mystical espousal that has begun there that is consummated at the cross in John 19. And so is it true? Absolutely. But it's more than just true in terms of historical facticity. It's something that we need to ponder in our hearts like Our Lady does in Luke 2:19.
And I, in terms of whose wedding it is, it's not stated. Right. So it's not good to guess at something the text doesn't say.
That's right, good point.
But if you've been to the Holy Land, you'll notice that Cana is only, about 6 miles away from Nazareth?
That's right.
You know, it's very close.
It's a long walk, but it's a walk.
Yeah, but 6 miles for them,
standard.
That's nothing. And so it could have been friends, could have been relatives, we don't know. But it was obviously people who knew Our Lady and our Lord. And I would also add this. It's very interesting that right after the changing of water to wine mentions that this was right before Passover. You see in chapter 6, right when it mentions the multiplication of loaves and fish, it's also at Passover. Third Passover in the gospel is the Last Supper. So you got a miracle about wine in the first Passover, multiplication of loaves and fish, the second Passover, third Passover, bread and wine become something different.
What a coincidence.
Ain't
Not
that-
even close.
ain't that something?
You also have Jesus' deliberate use of these stone jars that contain the water for the Jewish rites of purification. And when you go back to Exodus 7, you can see that, one of the initial signs that Moses performs before the Passover in the Exodus is to turn water into blood. The water of the Nile, but in Exodus 7, it's also the water in the stone jars. The exact same phrase. And so Jesus' first sign in John's gospel is to turn water into wine, the best wine at this wedding feast. And if we were saying, well, Moses turned it into blood, I think our Lord would say, stay tuned. In a couple Passovers, that won't be wine anymore. It'll be the blood of the new covenant.
Right. And something that was cool, when was the first time you were in the Holy Land?
Back in 92.
92. I don't know if you remember. My first 18 years, they would point out this old well down in the lower church.
Right.
Well, for the year 2000 Jubilee, they did excavating and cleaning and stuff, and they found some very early buildings, first century, all that stuff. But they found that it wasn't a well; it was a stone jar.
Oh, wow.
And it looked, all they could see is dirt and covering this what looks like a round well, but it was actually a stone jar, and you can still go there and see it. Sir, where are you from?
From Duluth, Georgia.
Great. Oh, you're just down the road. So, what is your question?
Dr. Hahn, as we witness to the power of the sacrament of our marriage, what have you found to be the best armor for a couple, either preparing for marriage or after marriage, to fend off what the world continues to throw at us?
Yeah, I mean, besides the sacrament of confession, which we've already talked about, I would say prayer, and especially the Holy Rosary. For me, that has been a key that has unlocked many, many doors that seem to be, unpassable. Devotion to Saint Joseph as well. Mm-hmm. But, that's before, and so you have to cultivate good habits for prayer and communication. You got to get good formation. But I would say the most important stuff is what happens afterwards, because in our first 5 or 6 years of marriage, we were surprised at how much tension and stress there was. Frequently, two intense personalities like Scott and Kimberly, there are a lot of sparks, and so it took me years to finally wake up one day and say to her, I've never gone right distrusting you, and I've never done wrong trusting you, even when I could prove that you were wrong, and so there comes a time where you have to recognize that you're not only on the same team, you're entirely dependent upon each other. But when I became a Catholic, and she didn't for another 4 years, and I didn't think she ever would, or at least I wasn't sure, when she came into the church in 1990, we sort of expected everything would be hunky-dory, a bed of roses, it'll be a rose, But we had developed some really bad habits. And so we took the advice of some good friends who recommended a good Catholic marriage counselor who met with me, and then he met with her, and then he met with us, and he walked me through how it is that most marriages go through seasons. Springtime, you're engaged; summer, you're newly married; fall, and then when the kids come and there are disagreements, it might seem like winter, or when you become a Catholic and she doesn't, it's a really long winter, And so he gave me assignments, go back and dance to Orleans, You're Still the One. Go back and watch this movie that you enjoyed together when you first started dating. Do the things that rekindle romance. And to be honest, I'd like to say ever since that time, it's been nothing but summer. But we've continued to go through these seasons. Sure. But at the same time, 40 years into this, I would say I have never found anything as fulfilling in this life as my friendship with Kimberly.
Yeah.
We enjoy each other so much. We fight much less. And when we do, there's still sparks and apologies and forgiveness, and then I get to confession, But the fact is, I know for a fact that God has used this sacrament to make me what I could never have made myself.
Yeah, that's one of the things I hear constantly from couples. And I like it when they say, I just don't have any idea why he does that, but I love him anyway. And the reason I like that better than the couples say, I know what she's going to say. She says the same thing every time. What's still going on in the first couple is that they recognize the mystery in each other. They don't quite get it all, but that's okay. Whereas the couple that, I know what they're going to say, they've cut off communication, and there's no more mystery, and they're missing each other. And this is key.
Right.
Let's go to Joe on the phone. Hello, Joe.
Yes, Joe is here.
Hey, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Indiana.
Great. And your question?
Well, I have a comment and a question. The comment that leads to the question would be primarily the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. I'm a product of the 60s and 70s. In the 60s, you saw your dad's or maybe another dad's dirty magazines, okay, and the culture, the sexual revolution and all that kind of led into the way we thought about ladies, girls, women. How much fun can we have? And that ends up in bad marriages. So, and I see it keeping up and it's accelerating. Now nobody's getting married, and please comment on that.
Sure. As a matter of fact, I got to say I was blessed. The pornographic magazines were just not part of the world I was in.
Right.
Not for my dad, and nor the guys I hung out with. We had our various shenanigans, but that just wasn't on our radar. But now it's something like 95% of college kids are looking at pornography weekly, at least.
And the age of initiation is usually like 10 or 11 for guys, and now
even
women
earlier,
in pornography too. I point out in the book that I was born the year, in fact, the month that Leave It to Beaver debuted, and then I graduated from high school, and the month I graduated, Saturday Night Live debuted, And so with those two poles, you can see the seismic shifts in the cultural tectonic plates, But since then, it's gotten worse, and it's gotten worse faster. I would say this, that I was exposed to Playboy in junior high and high school, which had started back in 1953 before Leave It to Beaver. And then it got worse and worse. I struggle with this as an evangelical. I even struggle with this when I would go into used bookstores to find the theology shelves if you passed by these magazines. I remember 3 years before becoming Catholic, I became Catholic in '86, I prayed my first rosary on December 31st, 1983, before Orwell's year began. And I told Our Lady, if you're half of what those Catholics say you are, then you're my mother. You're pure. You're powerful. I want to entrust something to you that I have struggled with, even though I've prayed about it. And I prayed a rosary, kind of half apologizing to our Lord if this offended him, but I believe that if the Catholic Church is right 99 out of 100 times, they're probably right here with her as well. I prayed that rosary, and then I found it in the back of my desk drawer 3, 4, maybe 5 months later. I'm like, wow, I forgot I had prayed this. And then suddenly, the dawning realization, I have gone 4, 5 months without any of the old struggles that I've had. I mean, it isn't like I'm now angelic, but I took that rosary and I have prayed a rosary every single day since 2 years before I became a Catholic.
And I have contact with prison ministries and stuff, and the inmates find the same thing, that praying the rosary is an antidote. That's a woman that elevates, and she's the antidote to people that present women that denigrate. But I'm afraid that we've run out of time.
Don't say that.
I got you.
One thing. Matt Fradd's new book, The Porn Myth, dispels 24 myths to help men to be accountable.
All right. All right. And I'm going to give you all a blessing for your marriages and any of the other problems. Lord, bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. By the intercession of the Holy Family, may your families also be holy. Amen. Thank you very much for being with us, and thank all the radio folks. And remember to keep us between your gas bill, electric bill, and cable bill, and we'll pay our bills too. Thank you.